Alright, yeah, I think we're good now. Oh, and I'm back. Yeah, I'm back, everyone. Yay! Wow! Okay. Sorry about that. Hello. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Johnny Baghead. I still have to adjust these. Hang on. That'll do. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, I'm back. No. You've probably seen me around a few times, but I'm like officially back. And, things are a bit different around here, aren't they? But, we'll call this a soft re-debut. We had the scuff year, like when I started out. I was kind of like the scuff period. uh, and now we're in like early re-debut. Because I got tired of waiting. But here we are. Got a new bag, new year, new look at that brand new ass computer I got. Now you can see why the stream looks so good. Cause yeah, excuse me. Okay. Just do just my arm fins. Alright. So, what's on the docket today? Okay. So, what's been the big news since your boy, Johnny Baghead, got tonsillitis for the second time since he started streaming? Yeah, we got Silent Hill news. Ah. Didn't want to hit my mic there, but I did anyway. So, I figured I've got to talk about this because it's going to come up a lot if I play a game and people are going to ask. So, yeah, we're just going to go into it. Okay. So, you have to forgive me. This is my first time doing something like this. We set up a special got a special screen here, so we can talk about this. But we're gonna talk about this trailer dickery who here. Now, I'll just be straight. If you've not seen the trailer, you've not seen any of the stuff. We'll talk about some of the other stuff. I'm not really gonna show it because there's not really much to say about it right now. But if you're like, oh, I haven't seen the trailer yet, and I was waiting for Johnny for some fucking reason, this is not the place. Because we're not gonna use sound really, and I'm gonna skip around and look at stuff. But yeah, we're just gonna kind of go through this. That's the wrong thing. Okay. So yeah, this is going to be muted. But we're going to just kind of look through here. So, hold on, let's go through. Okay, oh wow, their logo is like tiny for some reason. But so here's our first concern about this. So we'll stick on this screen for now because it's a decent screen to kind of look at. The Konami logo is after this, which is the weird thing. But okay, so we've got to talk about this. So first off, there's the fact this is they're just doing two. Like, oh yeah, they'll remake 2. Now, okay, I know that Silent Hill 2 can be enjoyed as a standalone game. However, uh, uh, I don't think that's actually the best way to enjoy it. Silent Hill 2. Oh, hang on. Why is that happening? My headphones were slipping off there. Okay. Silent Hill 2, in my opinion, always worked as it did because Silent Hill 1, you know, its premise, like, it's simple, but then, like, the actual story ends up getting into conflict. But it's not actually that complicated of a story. And in a lot of ways, you know, it's very simple. You know, it's about the cult, and your main character goes into the town with your daughter, then she goes missing, and you are looking for her. And Silent Hill 2 was meant to, like, subvert expectations, because going in, it's got a similar kind of premise of, oh, guy goes to town looking for a lost loved one, but then it turns out to have nothing, you know, like, no direct involvement of the cult, even though the cult's involved in why shit's happening, but that's more like the aftermath of the cult. And it even, like, dives more into, like, the backstory of the town and how the cult formed and all that. That's a lot of stuff to talk about, but that stuff is so important to Silent Hill 2. So then you come in, you're like, oh, we're gonna remake a game, and then we're just gonna start 2. It's yeah, it makes me question stuff. I get it's the most revered by fans, though technically it's not the one that even sold the best, and I don't think it's even, you know, it's kind of the hot take that some of us have. I don't even think it's technically the best Silent Hill. It's great for what it is. It's still one of the best games out there. But I think in terms of, like, what Silent Hill is, Silent Hill 3 does a lot of stuff this game does better. And stuff that Silent Hill 1 did better is carried over to 3. Clarice says, it's a problem no one cares about Silent Hill 1 because no one played it, really. No, back in the day they did. Silent Hill 1 was a huge hit. And it's, like, still the one that sold the best. You know, like, funny enough, like, every subsequent Silent Hill sold worse, regardless of the quality. Silent Hill 2, for example, like, was not liked in Japan when it came out. It has been longer, but because of that, that's kind of why, you know, like, Silent Hill 2 makes the more sense to remake, you know? It's the one that's got the most jank, the most room to improve. But then the other issue we have here is they didn't hire a team that's really known for remakes or that's known for survival horror. We have Bloober Team, and Bloober Team, I find, are a very rocky developer. I think, like, they've got 1 or 2 games that are, like, okay, and they're the ones that aren't really horror games, you know? When it comes to, like, their actual attempts at horror, I think they've got a lot of work to do. They tend to, like, over-rely on the same tricks, on cheap jump scares and on gore, kind of, like, negative portrayals of mental illness, like mental illness as the horror, which I'm not a fan of. And a lot of stuff that ends up looking goofy. They've never done a game with any sort of, like, combat or survival mechanics. They've all been games that have, like, checkpoint restarts and shit like that. And they've always been original stories and ideas. Even when they did that Blair Witch one, from what I understand, it's got almost nothing to do with the source material. It's like an entirely new story. And one of the big complaints about that game, from what I've heard, is that it doesn't really fit the canon or anything like that. There we go. I just want to make sure my mic's. Oh, that's got a good time. There we go. But there is some good news here that some members of Team Silent, specifically Masahiro Ito, who was the art director, he is overseeing. He's like creative director on this, and Akira Yamaoka, who was music and sound design. I don't think he was like sole sound design, but he was that on the original games. He's doing that on this one as well. Who would I give it to? That is a good question. I think this is a Finn. This is a. I have to think about this. Yeah, that's a hard one. Here's the thing, because if I wanted a remake done, I would want as much of the original team involved as possible. Because I would want a situation kind of like the Resident Evil 1 remake, which was a lot of the original team trying to outdo what they originally did. And in terms of like a dev, you want to pick a dev that is kind of mainly just there for like technical competence. So I might pick someone like Supermassive Games, the people who did Until Dawn and the Dark Picture Anthology. But they've also not really got any experience with combat and stuff like that. Or you would pick a studio that has experience with remakes. Like obviously there's Blue Point, but they're with Sony. But there are some other studios that have done support work on remasters and things like that. But that's one of my concerns. Some of the original developers of Silent Hill 2, they're just not available. That's just the reality of the situation. Sato, I always get his full name wrong, so I'm not going to try and say it, but he was the like cinematics lead and character designer on Silent Hill 2. I would love to have him back because I feel like he's such a big part of Silent Hill 2, especially if you watch the making of. You really see like how much he put into the nuance and the little bits of it. But he works at Nintendo now, so he's just there's like, unless he's left since then, but he was there. He worked on Luigi's Mansion 3, so he's still working on a survival horror. But the other guy, who I really expected them to get, and they didn't, is Yamaoka, the lead writer on Silent Hill 1 through 3. I have no clue where he is, and apparently no one else does either. Like, I've looked around, he doesn't have any credit aside from special thanks since at the Japan mobile only prequel visual novel comic. I don't think he is retired. Yeah, Clarice asks if he retired. Because I forget who it was, but I remember in Twin Perfect's The Real Silent Hill Experience, at one point they quote someone who watched their stuff, and I want to say it was Jeremy Blaustein, who mentioned that he was in their mobile division, or he was working on dating sims or something. So obviously that doesn't speak to where he is right now, but that was in 2012, 2011. So he must have just still been at Konami, and just not getting credited for anything. Presumably just being like, yeah, this doesn't benefit me. Plus, you know, Konami's Konami. Welcome back, El Sueno, by the way. Yep, the new bag's here. No, it almost broke again before I went live. Uh, that's just gonna happen apparently, like every time I'm about to go live. But let's not worry about that. Okay, okay. Uh, there's some others, but I'm really bad with names, so especially foreign names. But I would have liked a lot more in because creatively, I'm not a fan of like the way Blooper handles a lot of the same topics that Silent Hill 2 handles. And that's not just pure speculation. Like, we have The Medium, which is a game that was trying to be Silent Hill 2, and it covers a lot of the same themes as Silent Hill 2, and it handles them in a really sloppy and, like, I don't want to say offensive because that word's kind of lost all meaning now, but disrespectful and damaging and such a negative look on what, like, mental health and mental conditions and other weird stuff. But you can find that. That's a lot to talk about with The Medium. I know Layers of Fear has a few of those problems as well. But, you know, maybe with the right guidance, a team like that can be good. But, okay, we're going to go through this trailer. And I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that I have a few concerns with. They're probably not all going to be original. In fact, it's... but... you know, Silent Hill 2 is such a special game. Okay, so this is already weird. Like, as far as we can tell, this is the opening of the game, where you start with James, and he's in that public bathroom, and for some reason, he is, like, really upset in this version. Now, we have to hold judgment. Maybe this is supposed to be a different scene, and it's just supposed to look the same to kind of throw people off. But I have it up here. We're gonna do some like comparison stuff here. Get to look at also like how bad my streams used to look. Real nostalgia trip here. But you can see like already it doesn't look like there's any attempt to redo this scene. Like, more than anything, like, the way this scene plays off is more that James is, like, psyching himself up of, like, okay, I've got to go on this weird journey that I've, you know, look for my dead wife, that whole business. Here he seems, like, really upset, his hands are shaky. There's this weird thing here where, like, that almost signifies, like, someone touching their face, like, am I real? Kind of thing. Like, it reminds me of someone pinching themselves if they were in a dream. And yeah, if this scene is connected, if that is supposed to be the start of the game, that same scene, they've just, like, completely changed what they're doing with it. You know? You wish they got the original actor. Oh dear. The problem is, Guy Seehee in the original, it's if you look at the development and you listen to what he said and some of the other developers have said, you look at the making of, though he was actually censored in the making of. There's some weird thing where the making of people didn't want to show his face, maybe because they needed permission and they didn't ask for it. There's a lot of weird stuff with that. But, by his own words, a lot of the casting, they casted the characters, like the characters and the cast kind of molded each other. Like they were looking for people who were like the characters, and then the characters kind of took on the people, so they were, they kind of influenced each other and informed each other. That's the word I choose, inform. Uh, and I personally, I can't. Not saying no one could, but I personally couldn't imagine a different version of it, like someone else doing it. But that's not to say that no one could like mimic that performance. It's just I can't picture it. Problem is though, is Guy Seehee. It's kind of a off his lid. Is the nicest way I can put it. He's posted a lot of weird conspiracy stuff and specific like right-leaning stuff, and I think when you've done that, it's such a fucking shame because my judgment of him playing James has nothing to do with him as a person. Heck, there's a lot of like actors who like in real life are like the worst. And it actually seems to be like a weird, comes up a lot with voice actors as well, especially of this gen. But I think because of that stuff, like people would just not, like big companies would not risk him anymore. Plus maybe there's still some bad blood with the legal stuff. There's that as well. But we'll talk more about those changes there. But more the issue here is just like I don't understand like why you would go into a remake like this. You look at that scene and why, like, what's the point of changing it? When you start Silent Hill 2, you're not supposed to know who James is and what he's done. In that opening scene, he already looks guilty. He looks like someone who's like, which by the way, even though he is, it doesn't make much sense that he's like come all the way to the town and he's still acting like he's just done something bad, because he hasn't just done something bad. That was like hours ago, potentially days, because we don't really know. But also, I haven't looked at this properly, but I saw people on Twitter looking at this. This is a minor thing, but this is a map of the town, and for some reason, it's mostly the same, but then they've changed some random parts. And it's like, I just don't know why. It just seems like there's some stuff that's being changed just for the sake of it. Like, some of this, like, this area seems like really accurate. This area, they just seem to have, like, done whatever. And, like, some of this has changed, but that's a minor thing. Now, I noticed with that map, it looks very, like, hand-drawn, which is very weird for, like, an official town map. Here we go. Over-the-shoulder camera, free cam. We'll talk about this a bit more, because I've got a specific screenshot, but I just want to highlight already. Like, hey, the fog's looking good. Oh, there's line figure. But that's also a sign that there's going to be, like, a lot more cutscenes where there used to not be. Yeah, see. Creature design, Masahiro. But I think he's also creative director. I think I saw he had that credit somewhere as well. Another thing to mention about this trailer, there's like no gameplay in this. Almost no gameplay. It's pretty much just that little bit of walking there. Like, I don't have too much to say about this stuff. This stuff looks fine. I will say, considering that Konami want to compete with like Resident Evil Remake 2 and 3, I gotta be honest, visually it's not up to par with those, but I'm not surprised because they had, they hired an indie studio for it. Like, Like, obviously, it's on PlayStation 5, so it has, like, that horsepower behind it, so the lighting and the rendering kind of helps. But it doesn't have, like, the raw asset creation power. Here we go. So just throughout a lot of this trailer, James just looks like constantly, like, on the verge of tears. And it's so against what the character's supposed to be. And I don't mean because he's supposed to be manly and oh, he never cries or anything like that, but because his character is supposed to be emotionally detached from reality and like in a fugue state and not really accepting, because he can't process the emotions of like what was happening to Mary and obviously what he ended up doing to Mary and all that. So he's supposed to be, like disconnected from it. Obviously by this part of the game he's supposed to be more and more realizing the reality of his situation. But also, if this is the scene I think it is, which is the puzzle with the Hannin people, they're making like the clever camera cut of like every time you pull a noose down, it looked like, even though you're not pulling it down to use it, it looked like it. This is just like so in your face. It's like, yeah, I get it. But also it's raining here, so this makes me think this is actually the Toluca prison courtyard, which didn't have one. Oh yeah, here we go. Why is James like 60 years old? Like, what the fuck happened? Like, am I crazy? I don't know what Oh no, yeah. Clash talked about Ito. He wasn't just creature design on the original game. Yeah, he was art director. He was like, he did texture work, environments, lighting, cutscene direction. He was, yeah. He's had to correct. Funny enough, this is, oh, headache inducing. He's had to tell people on Twitter this because a lot of people are like, "Oh, he only did monster design. He doesn't know what he's talking about." He's had to tell people like, "No, I fucking worked on like all aspects of the visuals." But yeah, he looks it. It reminds me of like Nicolas Cage movies where they put like a wig on him to make him look younger. But it really looks like, because this face is based off the actor they've hired, which I think there are some pictures out there, but I don't know the actor's name. But it looks like they hired someone who is like pushing 60, like late 50s, and cast him as a character who I think is supposed to be at the oldest mid 30s. And obviously, like, the direction here is how he's being told to act, but he definitely seems to be kind of like pushing really hard and emoting really hard, and isn't it doesn't quite fit. It's like it's very, for me. Don't know where that scene is. Is that supposed to be on top of the hospital, maybe? Also, this screen. I'm sorry, this screen fucking sucks. This is like the most hammy, cheesy shit. Like a ghost is in the sky and it's the back view. It's so cliche. Like, well, it's if they wanted to make the character older, they could. Hang on, I think I'm gonna sneeze. I don't normally shout there, but my throat's still a bit sore from the tonsillitis, so you have to forgive me there. Um, but it's the fact that it looks like an old guy stuck on the model of a character who is supposed to be like 30, so it looks uncanny. Plus, I don't think the facial capture stuff they've got here is up to snuff with what a lot of other studios are doing. So, okay, we've got to talk about the free cam here. Like I'll talk about good stuff here, like the fog. One of the things that pretty much none of the Western games did right was the amount of fog. They always kind of pushed it further back, and they're kind of like, oh, we're on newer gen, so we're gonna make the fog like, oh, like really, like bigger draw distance and all that. And it's like you're missing the fucking point. This at least, like, it might not be exactly it, but it definitely is really close to the same kind of level of fog that had. But we've got free cam here, and I need to show a screenshot here. Oh no, that's the wrong screenshot. Here we go. We'll go back to the second. So here we go. Mateusz Lenart, I've probably said that wrong, creative director and lead designer at Bloober Team, told the PlayStation blog, one of the new elements that you could spot in the reveal trailer is the adoption of an over-the-shoulder camera. With that change, we wanted to immerse players even deeper in the game, make them feel like they are a part of this unreal world, and deliver them a more visceral experience. Okay. So, also in the full presentation, they also talked about it being a more modern system, and that really bothers me. But we'll go over this stuff first. So their argument here is that the change makes this more immersive, right? How? Like, how is this more immersive? Like, it reminds me of something like freaking Shinji Mikami said recently about Resident Evil 4 having over-the-shoulder camera that would make it feel less remote controlled. And it's like, what are you talking about? The game will feel remote controlled because you remotely control video games. That's how video games are controlled. You push a button, you move the stick, and the character you control remotely on screen moves. Putting the camera behind James's back does not make the experience more immersive. It just solidifies that you aren't in the world. You're just along for the ride. And more importantly, it robs Silent Hill of its cinematography, which I would argue is like one of its most important elements. And we're going to go through it here. We're going to find some good examples. But this is a good example of, this is a fixed camera. You can't change the angle here, you know. Oh no, actually I'm going to do that because we don't need that. And the point of trying to show like the grand size of the lake, but also how the camera is used to kind of like point the player in directions and to highlight things, and like, look how this is framed, of just, you know, like them wanting to highlight the art assets. Like there's like a few bits in this opening section where they give you these sweeping camera angles to kind of give you the sense of scale of an area. This gives you a good idea though of like really how oppressively close the fog is. I want to get a bit further in. Because I think it's a bit further in where the okay, yeah. I need to get to a different part. Oh, how does this work? Here we go. So here we are at like the first area, like the apartment area. Here we go. This is the exact room I wanted to show. This room does not work with a free cam. It does not work with over the shoulder. This entire, like, it's not the only example in Silent Hill. It's not even the example in Silent Hill 2. It's like the whole series. But I always think of this one because it so much is going on here. You come in the room, and unlike most of the other times you come in the room, the camera has a perspective that feels disconnected. It feels like someone else is watching, and it's purposefully behind this dress, which you have to pay attention. This is Maria's outfit from the photo, and she has the flashlight attached to it, and it's directly pointing at James. Like, there's such a specific story being told in the framing here, and like what the trick they're playing with the light. You know, that this entire scene does not work if you have a free cam. Like, that's gone. Which, bear in mind, that's not the only part of the scene. There's more to it. Obviously, Clarence, you know, because you saw me play through this game. Wow, I was messing around for a long time here. Oh yeah, I was pointing out, so it's really hard to see. And straight up, you have to like kick the brightness up really high. And unfortunately, when I pause here, it goes dark. But the light, one of the enemies, the like mannequin enemies, is lying on the ground. And in most TVs, unless you max the brightness of the game, you can't see it. And the whole point is that the camera is situated so that you have no clue there's a monster in the room with you. And then there's like vague images in the background, but because the camera's pointed at this dress, your eye is drawn here at this image of this figure looking back at you. And then boom! Wakes up the monster. You've got this camera angle back. You know? And it's just, you can't replicate all that's going on in that scene if you have a camera that you can move wherever you want. Clara says, you're gonna hate me on this, but I think in this era they have to change the camera. I have a retort to that. This is what specifically bothers me about the claim. Why's my mouse disappeared? What the fuck? Oh, that was weird. Okay. Check this out. Look at this game that Blooper made. Like, a few years ago. Look at this modern game. Wait, I'm sorry, I thought we were supposed to be modernizing, but here's this game that came out this decade, and it has fixed camera angles. Look at this other game. Oh, we gotta get some good gameplay bit. Yep, here we go. There's a lot of cutscenes in this one, so I've got to skip around a bit. Here we go. Yeah. This is a PlayStation 4 game. This is all fixed camera, by the way. This entire game. And This applies to like all of the Dark Picture games that Supermassive make. That is the Quarry. Yes, the Quarry. They made the Quarry. It's bullshit. It's not more modern. More modern. Yeah, mate. It's more modern. Blooper literally. Sorry, I always say Blooper, but they're Bloober. Literally made a game with fixed camera angles. Like, what was it? 2010, 2020. Sorry, that came out. I'm pretty sure they were making it when they got the contract from Konami. Yes, like I said, I think the mission is to copy RE2. That's entirely what it is. It's just, well, that game did that. Like, okay. Let's compromise, okay? One of the things I think was remiss about Remake 2 is that there should have been an optional mode to use fixed cameras. But the problem is that game, it would have took a lot of work because they relit the game so that most of the lighting source was view. But it's like one of the biggest missed opportunities is they should have done a mode like that. If this remake is like, oh, we have the old camera system, but if you just suck using it, here's the free cam, then I can give them a pass. It's still a problem because you are giving a lot of people the option to have a worse experience, and it's maybe a bit hypocritical because I always say that it's more options are the better. But I'm Cody. What? I'm cutting out. Hold on, did I hit my mic or something? Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. Maybe just try refresh, but everything seems good on my end. I'll double check the VOD though. But I'm not a fan of games that put in options for systems or like control options that make a game worse to play. But you can't say no. Like if someone wants to play Resident Evil 1 Remake with the 2D controls that fuck up every time the camera changes, let them. Even if they're having an objectively worse time, just you have to let them. But let's go back to my old shitty looking footage. Are we in the highest quality, by the way? Yeah, we are. It's the one benefit of my Twitch highlights is they're in a high. These ones are in a higher quality than they are on YouTube, because YouTube doesn't have support for like the weird 576 resolution that I was streaming in at the time. But there you go. Like this shot is for purpose. It's like it's. This is a good example. These shots are purposely supposed to make these corridors look so cramped and endless, even though they're not endless. They're quite short. If they're doing a third-person camera, they're gonna have to make all these corridors like twice as wide, and the claustrophobia is an intentional part of the horror in Silent Hill. And having like the specific camera set where they've put it where they want it. Oh, look at that! That was a skillful dodge. Press myself there. We're probably not going to get this exam text, by the way, where you examine stuff and you can read stuff. Let's see. Okay, there is a one there. This room's a good example that they'll use like fixed camera shots. Here we go. To like point at items. There are ways to kind of get around that, but you have to kind of use light sources and point light sources at everything. But we'll skip around. I'm gonna move my keyboard a bit. There we go. It was cool on the cable, so it was like rattling. But there's... But... Yeah, see, they cut in here to like tell you, hey, this is important, there's something here. And the change you have to do is like, you have to make items glow, or you have to put like new light sources in. Yep, they do it again. I'm trying to remember like some of the really specific examples. A lot of them are in this early area, but I have to like skip around and try and remember. Let me just do it this way. There we go. The first time you see Pyramid Head, like this is so important. That the camera is like always facing him. Kind of, I think would... Oh yeah, this one's important. Like when you come into this room, they purposefully like... This body, they don't want you to see from the front. Like if you watch this cutscene, you'll see like this is as close to the front of it you could see. And there's a good reason for that, because that body is James. But it's not supposed to be very obvious it's James, and also the gore is implied because your imagination fills in the blanks, and the unknown horrors can be like more scary, right? And it's also like kind of, I don't know the significance of it. I think it's a more significant thing in Japan. But Silent Hill always has this thing where they don't show the faces of dead people. Like when someone's dead, you don't show the face, and I think that kind of makes it creepier because it kind of makes them feel more like a body. Because you don't have a face to attach them anymore. But yeah, that scene's another example of like... The problem is, if you have a free cam, you now have to model that body on all angles, and you have to put in the details of the gore that was supposed to be implied. That the player was supposed to like fill in imagination. Here's a good example. This sink is glowing red, and you're not supposed to be able to tell why. But now that there's a free cam, they have to put something there. And like the framing of this shot. We won't stick with this too much. We will do Resident Evil, I promise. I pretty much just want to look at the apartment area. Let's get past this clock bit. Is this just me having trouble with the puzzles because it was on hard? Well, this is all cutscene. You can see with some cutscenes they are being really faithful, but they are adding a lot to them as well. And it's always a question of, well, did stuff need to be added? Like, does this extra shot of like you outside, like the camera shot outside, showing him pull up the gun, like, does it add anything? But that's kind of stuff that's hard to judge without seeing the full context. So, you know, I'll give him a pass on that. I hope those like static, you look in on something, you get the static shots. I hope those aren't gone. I have some faith that Blooper will keep those because they had those in the medium. Let's see, is there any other obvious ones? Okay, there actually is around here. Where is it? Did I go past it already? Oh yeah, I've gone past it then. It's... I must have looked at it. Let's see, where is it? Oh, here we go. It's probably really hard to see at the angle I was at. Here we go. There's that dead body in the fridge, and you're not really supposed to be able to tell what happened to it. Um, Again, with open shoulder camera, that means you're able to move the camera to be able to see, so they have to model that as well. Oh yeah, there's that puzzle that I got stuck at for like way too long. I think even this room is a good example. Like the frame in here, like it's very subtle, but they want the rooms to look a certain way. It just whoops. Just a certain way stuff can look. Like just having the camera up high or down low, or shots like this where they're showing the significance of the bed there. Like, I think in this fight, the free camera is kind of important here, not for the fight so much, but more for like when Pyramid Head leaves, which is about here. It kind of obscures him leaving. Trying to remember if there's anyone. It's a bit different. Wow, why am I so dark here? I think my light must have died. These camera angles are really important, and especially in the Toluca prison, where when you're in like the hallways, the camera's always like right above you, and it's looking down, and that's supposed to, you're in this oppressive prison structure, and uh and it's meant to have this image of like someone looking down on you. Plus with the audio design, where you hear those like really heavy footsteps walking on the metal grates, and it's like, where's that coming from? And it sounds like there's like guards and soldiers that are like walking above you that you just can't see because of the darkness. And how important that is to have the camera above you in that scene. Plus as well, when you get stuck in the prison cells, they have that same kind of overseer who like looks over you in that angle. Klaus, you ask, do you think they'll keep the puzzles? If they wanted to like randomize some of the solutions to some puzzles, I would understand. The problem is the puzzles have very important, most of them have very important significance to the story, in terms of like the items you find, and the descriptions, and what the solutions to the puzzles are. Like the coin puzzle having the old man and the stake and the thing like that. Like the amount of symbolism in those kind of puzzles, you have to keep that stuff. If you wanted to like, I think if they wanted to make more of the puzzles random solution, because some puzzles are random, like key combination, like the combination to the safe and things like that. But I don't think they should be changing any or adding any. And they've not confirmed, but there were rumors, like when this was all being leaked, that that's what's going to be the case. Oh, here, I need to have a drink. Oh. God, that was good. Done a lot of talking there. Here, I'll show you because it was a joke, but I've got to show you this. Oh, why does that happen? My mouse like disappears sometimes. Done again. Here we go. This is a tweet Masahiro Ito tweeted in 2019, where someone asked him to remake Silent Hill 2, and he said he doesn't want to And now he's like creative director of this new one. And apparently, this is around the time that he would have met with Blooper. So I don't know what happened there, mate. Sorry. Uh, awkward. Awkward. Oh, poor guy. Plus, he still has to deal with fucking idiots on Twitter telling him he's wrong about the games and he doesn't know. Oh, he said that multiple times that he doesn't like that he made Pyramid Head. He said it's like he said he regrets it, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, what does he mean by that?" It's like, what do you think he means by that? He hates how much it was like bastardized and reused. Who knows how he gets away with it, Clarice? But I I kind of, I feel bad for him because he does get bothered by so many idiots, but also it's really funny to see him like make fun of them and dunk on them all the time. But someone showed me this tweet, and it's just really funny. But anyway, so there we go. That's all my that gives you an idea of a Silent Hill fan like me, someone who is like insistent that if you can play the games on the original PlayStation 2, and if you can't, use like an emulator or PC with patches. That's seen the kind of the attitude that the remake's talking about and the way that trailer looks, and it's very much like I don't. This feels like this almost feels like a remake that's made for people who have never played Silent Hill 2. Because I feel like if you've played Silent Hill 2 and you appreciate it for specifically those things, this remake's not for you. And I'm not the only person who feels that way. I've seen some a lot of people just say it's random internet people. Like, I've seen the Sphere Hunter, I've seen Pat Stares At. They've basically had that same reaction. Like Susie Hunter, Sphere Hunter, put a tweet out that day that this presentation was, and was straight up like, "Hey, just a heads up, that remake's got nothing to offer me. I've got no interest in it. I've seen what they're doing. It's not what I want." And I think that's where a lot of us are. Like, hey, I would love to actually be proven wrong on this. But if you're basing it off that trailer, I don't think you should be that excited. Okay, in terms of the other stuff, I'll talk about it briefly. There's the game by the No Code guys. There was no gameplay. I've heard good things about the No Code people, but I've never played their stuff, so I just can't really comment. You know, I'd have to check the stuff out, but I plan on checking it out. Just checking if I've got any import things. No. Okay. The other thing, is it even a game? What is it? Huh. We'll get to F. Come on, I'm going in order that they talked about it. The weird ARG multimedia Netflix Wendigo thing. That doesn't seem like it needs to be a Silent Hill project. That just seems like, well, we're doing this revival, so we're going to have 10 games made at once. So we're just going to find anyone that will make a licensed game for us. It might end up being okay. It doesn't seem like it needs to be a Silent Hill thing at all. That's my opinion. Sorry. Then there's Christoph Gans making a new movie. I don't like that first movie. Is it better than the second one? Yes. Is it good? No. It's not good at all. It doesn't... It's supposed to be based on Silent Hill 1. It has none of Silent Hill 1's plot. It barely has any Silent Hill 1 characters in it. Sure, it has character names, but none of them act like the characters they're supposed to be playing. The story is completely different. The backstory is different. There's not The cult that's in the game is supposed to be trying to resurrect the devil. The cult that's in the movie is like, no, we're fighting the devil. And Alessa is the devil. But she's only the devil because we burnt her as a witch. And it's just so confusing. And also Christoph Gans as a person. This doesn't seem to be well known. The whole reason that film has a female character as the lead, Rose, instead of Harry, is because Guns said that Harry Mason in Silent Hill 1, quote, acts like a woman because he, like, gets scared. He gets scared, and, yes, oh, he gets scared and he cares for his children. Oh, just like the ladies. Like, it's like, holy shit, you're like a piece of shit. And one of the guys who worked on it said this as like a joke. That he likes the American blonde bimbo and he casts women in all his movies, so he has women around him all the time. And then the guy's like, oh, I'm just joking. And it's like, yeah, and they were just joking about all those people who got Me Too'd in the movie industry as well. And he talks about, like, especially in that new reveal, talk about like how much I respected the games. It's like, you said that the first time around, and you've proven you didn't even read the back of the box of Silent Hill 1. You took random music and random monsters and random camera shots and set pieces from Silent Hill 1 through 3, and then you jumbled them together, and granted it looked good. Like, yes, he nailed the visuals. But Silent Hill has always been more than just the visuals. It's not just an aesthetic that you could just slap on things. So, people bit say like, oh yeah, he says this stuff. It's like, he said it, guys, he said the same stuff the last time. And also, you look at like the concept art, like their storyboarding, where they're supposed to show like James and Maria, and James has got like long, slicked back hair. It's like you couldn't even get that right in the concept art. I don't know. And okay, so the last one is the Silent Hill F project. So again, we got no gameplay. Apparently, that's just to be fair, this has been an issue for years now. Gameplay reveals trailers just don't have gameplay anymore. But you're supposed to be excited about a game. It's like, but the whole point of playing it, like, I don't care if your cutscenes look amazing. How do you play it? how do you play it? I've got to know, how do you play it? But it's the one that seems the most interesting. You know, it's got some decent talent attached to it. It is a really good trailer, like a really good creepy trailer, really cool imagery. I don't really know how the plot is going to tie to Silent Hill because it's set in the 1960s Japan, which again is like, I think like according to like, no, there's no like there's not even though some of the later games did, there's no like official years attached to stuff, but that would still be too early. Like, Alessa's not even born yet, let alone the fucking other world. But who knows, maybe like it'll be like, oh, this is like a different cult that's like a branch off and they do their own ritual. Or it could, or you know what, it could just be like a horror story that just says Silent Hill in the name, and it'll be cool, but it's like, this could just not be... Well, no, I'm not saying that there can't be nightmare stuff in Japan. I'm just pointing out that the lore of the series is that the other world was created at the start of Silent Hill 1, and Silent Hill 1 happened in like the mid-80s. And for the nightmare to happen outside the town, you need some sort of like amplifying device. Like in Silent Hill 3, that was the unborn god inside Heather. And in Silent Hill 4, That was I forgot his name. That was Walter's Ascent of the Holy Mother, where he's like dead and he's like in the apartment and he's projecting his dream world. Like that was what was manifesting stuff there, because he had performed a separate like ritual outside of town to create a dream world and suck people into his dreams. So, who knows what to expect? But it does. In all fairness, it does look interesting. But no gameplay. We got, and what gameplay we did get of the Silent Hill 2 remake was mostly like really early dev stuff that there was like snippets of in that presentation. And then, of course, the rest of it was just like figures and merchandise, and I don't fucking care about that stuff. There were some cool figures. Though someone pointed out one of the figures is based on that scene where Maria and James are being chased by Pyramid Head and he runs into the elevator and she gets killed. He's supposed to be holding a spear in the Figma. They've talked about this iconic scene and they've given him the fucking the butcher sword, the great knife. It's like, guys, what's going on? You couldn't even get that right. He was, you got the weapon wrong. You can look up the game on YouTube. You can look up my playthrough. I know it looks like shit, but it's not hard to see that he has a different weapon in that scene. Hang on. Oh, there we go. But I have to give credit to Angriest Pat there because he highlighted that on the stream. It's fine if you want to change it for artistic liberty, but they were like, "Oh, this iconic scene." It's like you didn't do the iconic scene. You did your own version. so shut up, like. Okay. So, now that we've got this cynical old curmudgeon's view on that Silent Hill 2 remake and all that news, also I want to point out the last time we got like 3 to 4 Silent Hill projects all being made at once and coming out soon. That was 2012. That was the HD Collection, Downpour, and Book of Memories. So, yeah, good track record there, fucking idiots. Worked last time, didn't it? Okay.